Do you do a lot on Twitter or X? Sorry.
Yeah, I do post some things on Twitter,
Yeah.
but I'm finding that it's all over the place in terms of reach and engagement. It used to be like pretty predictable, either good or bad. I kind of knew what to expect. Now it's like sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
And I think it's because Elon and team are behind the machine, changing lots of things that we're not privy to, and they're testing all the time.
Right.
And you notice now when you read responses, it continues showing you what other people say about nothing about what you're talking about.
Right.
So they're like recommending
random things.
Random things.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, this is not
Yeah.
related to me. So it's pretty seamless. You read, and like, oh, 4 posts down. I'm like, I don't even know who these people are. So I think they're testing lots of ideas. They're doing things on the back end. They're allowing us to edit our tweets now up to a certain period. They're slowing down our respond button. Like, are you sure? I think those things Twitter needed for a long time.
They're shipping a lot faster. We can give them that.
They are. They're trying new things. And, Elon, for all his faults, I think he knows how to make product.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I wish he would just stay out of the, here's my thought leadership stuff.
Yeah.
That's all. Because I want to love the companies too, but it's getting harder too.
Yeah. The LinkedIn workflow. I mean, a lot of people are talking about LinkedIn, and what is your workflow like? There's a concept known as, I guess, from the book Story, where the crash and burning in the morning, right? Where it's almost like letting your creative faucet, because there's a lot of gunk in the morning. So you're just writing for like 10, 15 minutes. So I just will like type it out. But I feel like now there's an argument to just like write it all out for 5, 10 minutes, anything that's on your mind. And then you cherry pick the content ideas there. Do you do anything like that?
I don't. Not like that, but what I do is I'm usually in bed and people are like, how much time do you spend on social? A lot. My life is social. So I could be in bed for 45 minutes or an hour in the morning. I usually get up 6, 7 in the morning. I'll go through my messages. And my cue to get up, if there's not a deadline, is when I'm fired up, I just jump out of bed. I'm like, I got the idea.
Yeah.
So it's just provoking the brain to like, what do you want to talk about today?
Yeah.
So instead of like jotting down the 30 bad ideas,
Yeah.
I'm going through like, wait a minute, I'll type in the answer. And then I'll screen capture, like, that's the prompt for today's post. That's what'll drive it.
Got it. And is it scheduled, like your creativity? I feel like you can't schedule creativity, but are you trying to dedicate your first hour to it usually, or is it just like whenever it hits?
For me, I just write when I feel it.
Yeah.
I've done it before where I sit up and I'm like, I'm going to write 3 posts today. And they're dogs. Like, they're not good. It's not coming from anything. I'm not really fired up about answering any questions. The good news is, you probably have to exhaust a lot of content before you get to that point. And we're talking about different levels of writing here, right? So I feel like I've answered these questions too many times already. Is there a new way to do this? So recently somebody was asking me like, hey, can I be on your podcast? And the way they ask is so brusque to me. I'm like, no, please don't ask me that question. So that inspired me to write how to get booked on a podcast. And of course, that post does well because everybody wants to be booked, but they're approaching it the wrong way. And then I think I wrote something, a little goofy in there. I'm like, and how many of these are you guilty of? Are your ears a little hot right now?
Yeah.
Because you probably broke some of these rules already.
Yeah. So it sounds like to me like you might have, let's just call it, the main point is the meat, but you might have different hooks and different stories, and you're kind of repackaging, because they're like, you have a lot of the main points you want to make, but you have to like keep changing it up, right?
Well, I don't know. I feel like I've said everything I need to say, but I don't know why. I'll write something else and they're like, oh, that worked. I'm like, is it different? I don't know. I try to stay out of the judging business.
Yeah.
So I find problems. When I find a problem I care enough about, I just spring into action. I figure out a solution and then I let that go.
Love it.
Right?
Yep.
Because my idea, and I'm sure, my mind, just like yours, is constantly like, give me a good problem, I'll solve it. So it's in search of a good problem.
Got it. How about your creative team right now? How is that structured? Who's on the team and all that?
Okay. All my video content guys, with the exception of one, they're no longer with the company. They left for different reasons. I didn't fire them. Okay, I didn't fire everybody. And then my wife's like, do you need these people in-house or what's the deal? So now we work with independent contractors and they're friends of mine and they just deliver product. So I'm like, what is the result that you're getting? However you want to get there, it's up to you. I don't like to manage the means. I just want to look at the results. So when the results are off, like, you posted a lot, but it's not working, or you didn't post anything and it's not working, between the two, I'd rather you post a lot than not at all. So let's talk about it. Or the thumbnails mismatched with the headline and this video makes no sense. So we just talk about it.
Right.
So that's mostly the content team. There's an addition of a writer. I have a young woman who's working with me. She's an independent contractor. She helps out with a lot of writing and researching. I've never really had that before. We're still finding the right cadence for each other in terms of like, this doesn't sound like me when you write this. So I don't feel comfortable reading it. Let's work on this a little bit more. So people who have not recorded lots of videos, they write in long run-on sentences. But when I try to read them, like, who talks like that? I can't even breathe to read this. Put some pauses in here. Make the sentences simpler to understand. And so that's the thing we need to work on.
Got it. And how your content team, how much do you think you're spending per month?
I know exactly how much we're spending. So the hard costs are 13 grand a month outside of our internal team. So we have some internal overhead that manage that as well. But the hard cost, the writer and the video editing crew, it's 13 grand a month.
Got it. And so if you add an internal, maybe it's like 25 or something.
It may not be that high because they're managing other things, but they're also like looking at them.
Got it.
It might be a little bit more than that because I forgot there's a person who's helping me with the podcast editing. So we have basically supervision of the content team, but they don't really need a ton of supervision.
Got it.